Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. I want to thank you so much for clicking on any of my videos. I really do appreciate it when you come to spend time with me. My channel is just set up to chit chat about my crochet journey with my friends here, and hopefully you can be motivated or inspired by something I've done. Or maybe what I've done is not something that you're interested in and you can save yourself the headache of even pulling up that pattern. So last time I talked to you, life has been lifing. Let me just say that. I've still had some time to crochet, but I have not had time to film. So I've got some stuff stacked up here and I have to kind of separate it into, my mind gets a little bit overwhelmed with how much I've got going on when I haven't broken it down to share with you. So I'm just going to go right back to my project book and start with the last thing that I recorded, which was some facets in the beanies, and I did a blanket. So what I was finishing was, I've got just this much of the flame colored left of this facets yarn. In case you did not see that video, it is by Loops and Threads. It is a roving yarn, so it gets thin and fat. Some people don't like to work with that. It's very halo-y if you've got to frog your stitches at all, but I had a bunch of it that I got in a group of yarn that I bought on eBay, and so I've had a whole bunch of this facets yarn to go through. I've got multiple videos on it, and I've created a little playlist, so if you'd like to see what other things I've created with this facets yarn, please do check that out. So what I was working on when I last talked to you was this blanket. It was a never ending, and I wasn't sure if I had enough yarn to do a single crochet border all the way around and make a hat. And so I did. I made another hat, and then I've got this much left, I said, of the flame color. But this is a really nice pattern. It's got the ribbing here at the bottom. Some people do an alternating back loop only stitch. This is a front post double crochet, back post double crochet, altering for 3 or 4 rows. So the original pattern that I saw this in was a landscape beanie, and I mistakenly said in my last video that I believed from my past experience that this facets yarn was very similar to the landscapes yarn from Line Brand, and it's not that. I double checked myself. I looked up on yarn substitution. I think it's yarnsub.com, and it is not the Landscapes brand yarn. It is the Unforgettable by Red Heart that is similar to this. So apologize if I threw you off with that. And so again, this is a pattern that was made with a Landscapes yarn, and I instead made it with the facets. It does go a little bit longer. I cut the number of rows a little bit to make it less slouchy, if you will, and more of like a skull cap. So really nice oranges and yellows that kind of run through this flame, red to orange to yellow. That was just kind of like a follow-up to my last discussion about the flame color. But as you may know, I still have some other colorways. This one is called Lollipop, and it's these great pinks and oranges and a little bit of yellow, whatever. And so I decided to make some fingerless gloves, and this is a pattern by Hooked by Robin. I used a 4mm hook, and it's this great shell pattern. So you can make the cuff part a little bit longer or shorter if you'd like. That's the great thing about these fingerless glove patterns, is that you can really kind of make it whatever you want. But this was the one that Robin did, and I did make up the set, which, if you've heard me say before, I work them up at the same time so that I don't either A, get burnt out on just making one and then not wanting to make the other, or maybe my mood was different, and so my tension's going to be a little bit different. So I think they worked out just fine, though. Really nice, really pretty. At the time, my hands were freezing, so it felt like the perfect project to be working on. And so, yeah, so I will link all the patterns that I am talking about down below in the description, so you can go check this out. Again, Hooked by Robin. You guys know I love her to death. So this is fun, but some people still want their fingers actually covered, and there's no thumb sewn here. It's just a space. So if there's a little bit less of a glove that you're interested in, I think this is a really great pattern. So what else did I then work on? So then, please forgive me, I do not remember, and I did not take the time to go dig out the comment, but somebody said somewhere recently on one of my videos, commented about making a beret. So I decided to look that up and see what was going on with that. And again, I still want to kind of work through some of this facets yarn. I'm almost done. I think the flame, that was the very, very, very last of the flame that I had. And then I've got this much left of the lollipop. So I'll probably be able to get, I might be able to get a beanie out of that. I'm not sure if I will or not. I just threw my yarn at myself. And so also in the lollipop color, I'll show you, is the first beret that I made. Well, I don't know if I made that one my first. Yes, I did. I number them. I've made 5 to show you here today, and number 1 and number 3 were made with the facets yarn. So it's a really great size. You know, I don't know if a beret, you specifically wear it separate sideways, you know, is it the same as a slouchy? Like, there's lots of different ways you can wear it. I make lots of fun, you know, you kind of do a fake Andy cap. But you know, the beret thing, if that's up your alley, I thought this was a really, really cute hat to make. It fits the mood, you know, as you're making it. It goes right along. The pattern goes very, very smoothly. And this is a pattern from Yarnspirations, actually. And it calls for a 4.5 and a 5 millimeter hook. So you'll see that a lot of times, the brim where you, you know, you create the hat itself with one size of a hook. And then you usually go down a half a hook size to do the brim, just to give you a little bit more snug to your head there. So a little bit left of the lollipop color. Now the next one that I have from the facets is this cotton candy color. So it is very childlike, if you ask me, but I don't know why an adult couldn't wear it. You know, I made this in the adult size. Oops. So again, whether you're wearing it kind of to the side or just more of a slouchy in the back, or if you do one of these where you've got, you know, a little bit of hair going on here too, that's cute. So the lollipop, or this cotton candy colorway though, I still have quite a bit of it. I've got 2 full skeins and then 1 big partial and 1 smaller partial. So I didn't want to maybe mess around with gloves anymore, or more beanies or berets or whatever. I thought I was going to go with maybe a shawl, try to go with a shawl and use it all up in one bigger pattern together. So that's kind of still on my in the works shelf. I've run out of room. Hold on. Okay, so then I'm all goofy. I'm all whatever. Okay, so I did the facets with a lollipop and the cotton candy. And then I picked up this one. I still had a skein and a half. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. This yarn is, if I am not mistaken, this is in my heart, this is the first yarn that I ever found at Dollar Tree and lost my marbles on. I could not believe that, like, the Dollar Tree, I mean, these years and years ago, but I could not believe that the Dollar Tree would have yarn that was like good yarn. Like, I expected, and it's still like this. I mean, the Premier Just yarn that you get at the Dollar Tree is really good yarn. But I expect it to be like really bad quality yarn because it's at a cheapy discount kind of place. But that's not the case at all. It wasn't with this one anyway. So this was, what I've got left here is this little bit from Patton's Canadiana. PattonsYarns.com. 2015 is my label, you guys. So I've had this for quite some time. And I think I had 3 skeins of it in the beginning, and I remember using it a little bit in the past, but then I still had like a skein and some left. So, oops, put that in the right pile. So I've made a beanie with this one, a little bit looser, a little bit, kind of makes me, I get different visions with the way that this one sits and the colors and stuff. So I really like this one. And then I also made up a different fingerless glove pattern. So because the beanies or the berets are done in a granny stitch, I wanted to also make up the fingerless gloves to be in a granny stitch to match. So I like the way that these worked up very well. Let's see, made a different channel for that. Oh, okay, these ones are from the the Anarchist Knitter. They're a 4mm G hook, and I did them as the pattern calls for. A lot of times I change up the pattern. I want to say I added some thumb. I can't remember. Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't remember now. I'm changing my mind. Because again, you guys, this was like 2 weeks ago. I totally get out of my mindset of what I've been working on when I don't get a chance to film it right away. There's a lot of the details that I kind of lose over the time, and I apologize for that. But I still love these absolutely to death, and you can always go off the pattern a little bit, do something of your own. I put a single crochet border around here and around the thumb. I can't remember if I added the thumb all by myself or if it was actually in the pattern. So I apologize for that, but I like to bring you exactly what happened, and I can't always do that. But I really enjoyed the granny stitch for that, and these were so easy, and that's why I made so many of them, because you know me, like once I make one of a pattern that I like, I make more and more and more and more and more. So unfortunately, I only have a little bit left. I didn't know I still had it, and I was moving stuff around, and I found it, and I was super excited to be able to apply this pattern to it, and I think it turned out really, really good. So these are super toasty. I'm ready to take them off already. Oh, okay. And so let's move those out of the way. And what came next? The next one that I worked on, and I don't know that I did them back to back to back or whatever, but I was in the beret and the gloves mindset all together. So then the Vanna's Choice was the next one I did in this rust color. Now, you know, we've always talked about worsted weight 4 can really be a different size. You know, they do classify it as a 4, but sometimes it's really, really thin 4, and sometimes it's a really, really fat 4. So in this case, this was kind of a fat 4, and it really showed the difference in the pattern. I didn't change up the hook. I still used the hooks that the pattern calls for, but this one is quite a bit different in size. You can see, I mean, it'll sit on my head just fine. It's fun to be a little bit more loose and have a little bit more space in there, whereas the facets were kind of like a skull cap beanie, or a skull cap beret, I guess is what I'm trying to say, whereas these ones have a little bit more space in them. So I always think about, like, if you see somebody with a lot of dreadlocks or something, like they need space for all of that, like their head is a little bit bigger around because of all that hair, so that might be a good one for that. And I only had a little bit of yarn left from that, so that'll go to the rest of my Vanna's Choice scraps. I try to keep, I had a whole bunch of her yarn, so I have tried to keep the scraps together so that, you know, it is the same yarn and yarn weight and yarn fibers and all that stuff. No date on here. I was looking for a date. So just a little bit left, not enough to even make one glove. I don't think so. I didn't make anything more with that one. And then you guys know I don't always mix up yarns, but I did in this case, and I'm super happy for it. I'm trying to find, I guess I don't. Okay, so I talked just a minute ago about the Just yarn that you find at the Dollar Tree. There's $1.25 now. And I mixed that with this yarn that I have from Lion Brand. That's a basic stitch, anti-pilling. It's 100% acrylic. There's just a weirdness to it. Like, it doesn't feel like normal acrylics to me. It feels like it has some cotton in it or something. So it's just, I haven't wanted to really mix it with anything, but I felt like mixing it for this one. So first what I did was I made the beret in some stripes. And I'm not one to want to sew in ends at all. So all of the ones that I've done that I did besides this one were just using the yarn straight through, whether it was a color changing or a solid color yarn. This is the only one that I made that was stripes, you know. So again, it's a little bit bigger. I've got a little bit more space in my hat here. Lots of different ways you could wear it. Again, I try to pull that hair forward a little bit so that it's kind of cute like this, whatever. But so that was the hat that I made. And then I made the same granny stitch glove. That was the Anarchist Knitter again, but I added some rows to the top. And now I totally want to say that I added the thumb on, but I just don't remember. So here was this one, because I did want it to go a little bit taller, cover up more of my up my knuckles, because my fingers do get cold. And here's my second one. So this was a nice little set to make up and, you know, maybe hang on to for next year for Christmas for somebody. But yeah, oh, goofy hair, goofy hair, goofy hair, goofy hair, whatever. So this was a lot of fun. They worked up really, really quickly. It was a very easy pattern to follow. I highly, highly encourage you guys to follow on to, you know, look at these patterns and make them up if you'd like to. My ring keeps getting caught. But yeah, and make them your own. Do something different if you want, you know. So those were lots and lots and lots of fun. Let me see if I covered everything. So I made 5 berets and the facets lollipop gloves, and then the other 2 pair of gloves that were the granny stitch ones. And that has brought us all up to speed with where I'm at with what this video is going to entail. I've got some other things that I'm still working on that will probably be ready in my next video or so. Something else that's going to be on the back burner for a little bit. So what else I started working on now, what I've, you know, I work like, sometimes I just want to crochet. And so I'm not taking time to look at patterns, and I'm not taking time to look for a new pattern or, you know, match up a pattern with a yarn just perfectly. So I have been diving into my chunky scraps. I've got a tote that was just full of all the different 5s and 6s. Some of them take a 6.5 mil, you know, some 5s, 5-weight yarn will take a 6.5 millimeter hook, and some will take, I've got some that take an 8 millimeter hook. And then even that are a 9 or a 10, an MN hook that it's calling for. So I've kind of gotten through the point where I'm separating those to the different hook sizes that they're going to require, or suggest, I should say. And gonna maybe do some mishmashing with some of that yarn just to get it made up, to get it worked up, because I always want projects that I can just like mindlessly work on and not really think about what my pattern is and all that. So in looking at my tote of chunkies and so forth, I've got a bunch of scraps from this gemstones yarn. I don't know, this was a couple of years ago. I'm always looking for a date on these, and I'm not finding one right here. Yeah, so I bought a bunch of this. I've got a bunch of different colorways to go through still. This one, I think this one was one of my favorites. This green that comes through is just so vibrant, it's so strong. And then your purples and your blues and stuff, I'm just dropping it all now. So that one I think is called the Peridot. And which is that greenish color, I think that was my mom's birthstone, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So anyway, so that was a real pretty one. Also have, this one is called Lemon Jade, and I don't know if this lots of lemonies, maybe that was this one up at the top in the center. I think this one was Lemon Jade. It's just like some green and yellow. So I added some other smaller sections to get rid of those, just to add all the different gemstone colors together, because they're all this kind of braided strand and they've all got mixed colors in together. So it all just can, you know, there's a little bit more of this one, so I'll wait to the end to use that one, but all these other miscellaneous ones will go in this hat together. So, and these are all the pattern from Donna B Creates. That's my go-to beanie anytime I've got 5-weight yarn. So she uses a 6mm hook, and so I think I'm gonna just like chomp through all of the 5-weight yarn that calls for the 6.5 and use this 6-weight, and then I'll still have my 8mm and my 9mm bigger chunkier stuff to figure out what I'm gonna do with that and put those together for something. So I hope everything has been going well for you guys. We've had, you know, I always talk about weather in St. Louis. They've said when we first moved here, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change. And we literally went from like a 70-degree day, and the next day it was down in the 30s or 40s, like I'm not sure exactly, but so weather's been all over the place. And yeah, it's kind of gray out today, so. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope everybody's doing well. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and please do come back and see me again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.